Hey everybody, welcome to BODS Mayhem Hour. I'm your host, John the Bod, aka the Bod Father. And as always, I bring you guys awesome interviews. And today it is an honor and a true privilege to have Mr. Doug Wimbish. He is the bassist of Living Color. They have a new album that's out. In fact, this is their sixth studio album entitled Shade. It's out on Megaforce Records. And you need to pick this album up because Living Color does not disappoint. So, Doug, how's it going?
Man, it's going quite well. All is good.
So let's jump right into this. This is your guys' first release since 2009's The Chair in the Doorway. How good, Doug, did it feel to be back in the studio working on new material for the Shade album?
Well, it feels good that the record's done. We started working on this record in 2013, coming off the heels of performing at the Robert Johnson Centennial Celebration at the Apollo Theater. And it was there that lightning struck us all on stage as we were asked to perform the song. We chose to perform the song Preaching Blues. After that performance, which went well, standing ovation at the Apollo Theater, we came to a revelation that what would it be like for us to sit back and look at the blues and see how we can maybe re-engineer it. What's our interpretation of it? How does it play out for us individually and collectively as Living Color? So that's when we embarked on this journey to assemble the connection of different musical genres and styles over the years and to put a Living Color spin on it. And that saying that, how do we connect hip hop, R&B, with rock music, soul music, dance music, all the different styles. Where's the DNA lie? How do we see the connection? Can we translate that through a audio recording? And we set out to do it. And I'm very proud of the result, my bandmates, and the idea of being able to get together and collectively decide on on what we wanted to set out to do and achieve it. So yeah. I'm thankful.
And this is what I like about you guys. You guys have just 1,000 miles an hour attitude about this. You guys go about it and you do your own thing, but you keep the rock influence in there, which I think is truly awesome for what you guys do.
Well, thanks for saying that. And, we're a rock band, but we also have other different styles that we have played over the years. And the Living Color songbook has gotten bigger. I mean, there's a song like Broken Hearts, which has a country western kind of feel. And there's a song like Bless Those, which on one level was the song that kind of was relevant from the last record, Chair in the Doorway, that kind of carried over into this record, a blues-based kind of song. And that song in itself was, Bless Those was a song that I had did 20 years. When I was asked to join Living Color I got the phone call from Will Calhoun, I was recording Bless Those with artist Little Annie and myself and Skip McDonald, my Sugar Hill Tackhead bandmate. We were recording that song at that time when Will Calhoun called me. And that was just, it's a different spin, but it's there's a story that connects all of the songs and styles of music that we tend to play. So, we're a band that has diversity. We also, is 4 individuals that have their quadrants of stuff that they like individually, and collectively we put these things together and fight our way through the frequencies in and I say friendly fighting and friendly conversations and pushing and turning and twisting to be able to find the lane and to get the result that is Living Color. It's a sound and a frequency and the shape of the note. That's why when you hear the Rolling Stones, that's the Stones. You hear James Brown, that's James Brown. You hear Living Color, that's Living Color.
Exactly.
We have a diverse range. When you hear Corey's voice kicking in, Vernon's guitar, Will's drums, and my bass, And, you know, you might go, oh, hey, oh, wow, that's Living Color. So some things might catch you out of character, because a song like Cult of Personality has been one of the songs that people identify the band with. So when you hear something like Sacred Ground from maybe from Kaleidoscope or something like that, then it becomes kind of, oh, wow, you know, there's other things that are on that musical palette that, you know, that we can portray as musicians, more like actors. We're like sonic actors. You know, we find a way to talk about something, and then we get into it without being afraid of the results, you know, and not being, you know, look, there's always going to be somebody that likes this or doesn't like that or whatever. If we didn't do what we did, then I wouldn't be here talking to you right now. You know, if we didn't feel that this is what this band is about. We're a rock band. We're a band of color. We talk about the conscious scenarios of what's going on. Mm-hmm. We like to have fun. We understand, you know, we're learning every day. And music is a reflection of your life. In my opinion, how you live, it comes out in your music. So these four gentlemen, these other three bandmates that I work with, Vernon Reed, who I've known from 1981, and Corey Glover and Will Calhoun, who actually called me to join this band or to be a part of it. You know, I'm very proud to be to have them as friends and family and brothers. And while we're still breathing, I'm thankful that we're fathers. I'm a grandfather now, and we've been able to go through decades of making records, and I'm very thankful about that. It means that is the sign of a true champagne. And so that's it.
Well, congrats on being a grandpa, man.
Got 4 grandkids, man. They love Disney World and stuff like that, you know. So they're like, I just saw them in Florida. But, you know, the thing is, it's like life, you know. When you're a kid, when you're 18, 20, 21, 22, 24, you know, it's like everything is, the world is there. It's open, you know. You're on a journey. You know, you can get in a van and drive across country and eat Snickers bars and you're happy. You know, you can go to the Warp Festival and be a part of this scene, which is kind of what's going on now. It's like, you know, back in the day when I was coming up, you know, I was thankful to be able to watch Woodstock at a drive-in movie theater, because there weren't all these many opportunities to see. But there's many opportunities to see live music, but in light of what was being visually available for us on television was based on the 4 networks that you had, you know, ABC, CBS, NBC, and PBS. You know, outside of that, it's like, you know, records and the imagination and your AM and FM radio stations and the local, municipalities that actually had funding to give live concerts and stuff. So we embraced an album. You got an album that was like, man, this is a novel here. You know, I remember, you know, where I was at in my life based on a record that I had bought or worked hard for. And now things are accessible beyond, you know, so the idea that we've gone through all these different periods. And I grew up in the Vietnam era, listening, you know, as a kid, listening and seeing different things and all the stuff that's going on. Here we are, knocking on the door of 2018, and the technology's changed and to a certain degree. And now what's happening now, people are starting to get more into vinyl at this age now more than ever. I see vinyl reappearing, and that's kind of where I kind of like got my first. I really got busted out. My cherry got busted listening to vinyl and listening to all these great records, you know. So it comes full, my friend, everything comes full circle after a while. If you keep that shirt long enough in the closet, it's going to come back into fashion eventually. So hopefully Living Color is a band that has been able to embrace the decades, and we've all been able to, recite the stories that were told to us, like folklore, recite it.
I think you guys have, honestly, and this album's really good. Are there any songs, Doug, off this album that stand out more to you than any as of right now, if any, possibly? Well,
I mean, you know, it's a good question because, see, this record is, I'd say they all stand out because this record is almost like it's like a theme. It's like one big song in a sense. It's like a sonic play in a sense. The way we're able to kind of make it work in a sense. So, I mean, honestly, I like everything we did, to be honest. I'm not like, do I like certain songs more than others? Maybe so, but when I list, because of the selections of what we did, it's like the song that happens, that might be song number 2, helps set up song number 4. Song number 5 is connected to, might be connected to song number 1. So there's this connection in the record that I really like, that to me, I hear the song as one piece of music as opposed to separate songs, because it gives me the sensation of like, you know, the way we kind of like lucked out. You know, a lot of times you kind of like, we got to start somewhere. You know, I got to walk over to my bass every day to pick it up to play, because it's not going to walk over to me. So we started this journey, and in light of dealing with it, we said, and I'll answer your question. We said, how do we make the connection? How do you make a connection between a Preaching Blues, a Robert Johnson song, and a Biggie Smalls, Who Shot You, and a Marvin Gaye, Inner City Blues? Those are 3 different kind of vibes going on, and they represent organically, and some person can put them in a certain category. We saw the connection. We saw the storyline. We saw the writing connection of the artist. We saw how did they all live? They lived in different eras. How did they die? They all died by gun violence, and ironically, you know what I mean? And, Biggie was dealing with a hip hop. People might say he was a hip hop artist, but he was a lyricist, and he was speaking of his life in the world that he's living in. And a lot of times it's like, it's very real, Marvin Gaye living in the era that he was living in. And it's like the news with a beat, being able to recite through stories and words and music how you are living and what you see with your eyes. And, what's going on, I always say what's going on, but Inner City Blues is a real snapshot of what was going on in the inner city in Marvin Gaye's eyes, as is Who Shot You, what's going on in the inner city, as is Robert Johnson's Preaching Blues, of what was going on in his time, in his life. So we kind of, we didn't set out to do those songs. The only song we had was the first one, that was Preaching Blues, because that's what sparked us. Everything else came through conversation. How do you tie those together? So to answer your question, it's like one body of music. Inner City Blues sounds stronger when I know it's coming off the heels of a Preaching Blues. Always a Blackout song like Blackout, which is raw and minimal, sounds great coming off the heels of off of an Always Wrong, or it's real interesting how all of these songs speak to me, and it resonates. And then we're able to top it off by saying, all right, let's throw in a Glass Teeth or Patterns in Time and stuff like that, which is kind of like your more in the face, living color song for the rock heads, or for folks that are like, okay, we like Time's Up, we like this, give them a taste. So it's all, to me, it's like watching a film. It's like, it's like The Godfather or something like that. Or, some people might like this one better than that. But, I think a lot of times when you see the original version of what something is, it sparks you. And I think this is, and yet another original version of a living color period in time. So I look at all the songs, it's like art. It's like when you look at a picture, how do I know that I'm looking at a picture of the ocean and the seaside and in a hammock and some palm trees in the background? Well, it's not in black and white, it's in color. So I like all the colors that I'm seeing. I need to see the brown, that's the sand, and because it makes the blue look better. I need to see the white on a hammock that makes the orange trees in the background look better. So to me, all of these songs are a part of a sonic bowl of fruit. I'm just being honest with you.
Yeah. And folks, I'm just going to throw a little bit in here before I don't want to give everything away on this album because you need to pick this up. But as Doug mentioned, Preaching Blues, I really dug this song. And Come On. That was a great song too. Those are my two favorites on here. But I'm not going to give everything else away. You need to pick it up. But you know what though,
I'm glad
man?
you like those two. Yeah, that's great.
But you know what though, Doug, you're right. Preaching Blues, but like the Robert Johnson twist. How can you not dig Robert Johnson? I mean, how can you not like his music?
Well, see, here's the deal. In my opinion, it's like blues is just such a raw art form, and it's around us all over. It's like dark matter in space. It's like dark matter. Let me equate it like that because it's everywhere. You don't realize it. Yeah. It's like dark matter. And think of all the styles and the formula that's been in modern music since the Great Migration, since the Civil War, since records were and music was being documented and the live recordings were starting to be done, since the days of the chain gangs and field recordings that Alan Lomax did and all these things. It's like dark matter in space. And so when I listen to the forms of all these different things, Preaching Blues summarizes it all right there. Disco, hip hop, art, like I mentioned before, dance music, dubstep, drum and bass, all these things. I could see the formula of it. Maybe it's the chord progression. Maybe it's the sonic. Maybe it's the setup of form. The 1-4-5 form. Or even like most songs right now, listen to these songs right now. You can break it out. It's the numerology of what goes on in making these records. A song like right now might start on the 6, and then go to the sixth degree of a chord, and then it goes to the and it might go to the fourth degree, and then to the 1. These formulas of which blues is based off of, kind of like starting on the root, some traditional blues, going to the 4, back to the root, going to the 5, back to the 4, back to the 1, or starting on the, so it's like, you can look at it like that to a certain degree, or you can look at how the chorus lines came in, or how the hooks came in, or the storyline. So like blues has all of this information in what is sometimes the most simplest form. And a lot of stuff has just been documented with the person with his guitar, and a song and just getting it out there. So, that is it. That's kind of like, that's what got the Rolling Stones to be the Rolling Stones, the Led Zeppelin to be Led Zeppelin. A lot of these English artists were able to tap in on that and say, I'm digging this, because that frequency was new to them over on that side of the pond. Mm-hmm. And for folks over here, we got, for the African Americans that came here, and let's look at the reality of what was going on. Though this is indigenous music that came from Africa. This is indigenous music that made it across the ocean on that 3-month journey. This is indigenous music that hit the Caribbean and dropped off slaves in South America and the Caribbean. Then came to the mouth of the Mississippi River. It migrated up. It's like when you hear, certain, black music with a certain lingo, and wonder why are they talking with that kind of lingo? Well, who were the slave owners? They were from New Orleans. They sounded just as black as anybody else. So there's dialect. If you think about it, there's dialect. Yeah. There's stories. There's a certain freedom, like what took place in Congo Square in New Orleans. The slaves were allowed to have a day to celebrate. There's all these things that were part of folklore and story, and it carried over, and it carried over, and it carried over, and it carried over. And here we are now in 2017, and this art form, this telling of the story, this preaching blues, this DNA lives on to this day. So we were fortunate enough to pick a song that was We didn't know. I was like, look, we were asked to do the Apollo gig. We weren't prepared. We didn't go. Corey was on the road. I was just coming in from the UK, and we had to put the song together in the dressing room and not rehearse. We didn't have time to get in our way. And it was like I came with a few different versions of other people's versions of Preaching Blues and how they did it as reference. And then Corey was like, what, let's try this kind of vibe with that and that. We just kind of like started to look at, these are references, but we're going to put our spin on it anyway. And that was how it happened. It happened organically. It happened like a blues record should happen. If you overthink things, it tends to get over, you overproduce it. So it was done naturally and raw. Preaching Blues couldn't have been a better selection at a better time for us. And I agree with you 100%. It's a great song. So, and we didn't approach it like a blues, and no diss to any other artist. We put our living color spin on it. I think it was that kept maybe open up some new ears to some folks who don't, okay, here's some blues. Living Color's putting their spin on it, and we're hitting them hard with it. You know what I mean? And some people might like it. Maybe they don't, but that's what we do.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you like that song, my friend. I'm glad you like it.
I do. It sent chills up me. I'm not shitting you. I mean, it really did. It was like, whoa.
It gets you, man. I mean,
it does.
That's the one song we had that started this whole thing. That song.
Yeah. I mean, if that don't hit you hard, and especially a lover of music, then you have solely missed what music's about. Seriously.
Honestly, when we started to make this record, we had no idea what we wanted to do. We were fumbling around trying to do a few things, and some things went a certain way, but I can't, but it was that song that started. And I also have to say, as that song started, we were able to bring this, how do we make the record? Well, I can't do this interview without mentioning the assistance of a good friend of mine that I worked with Madonna with years ago, and we did a bunch of music. His name is Andre Betts.
Yeah.
An old friend that I've worked with many, many years, and was able to introduce him to Living Color, even in the Stain era, and even he kind of dabbled in to help us throughout, without much recognition. But I was thankful that the guys were able to, when I mentioned, let's get Dre to have a shot at this because of his temperament, his honesty. And Dre has a street sensibility, right? Mm-hmm. So the connection of how to connect these records, this album, the bulk of that came from Dre. Being able to go, listen, you got Preaching Blues that stuff. We cut Preaching Blues a bunch of times. We couldn't listen. If you go online, you listen to the Apollo gig. That was just magic. So online, we couldn't beat that at first. That performance was just like magic. Yeah. We went in and we tried to cut it again and do this, that just didn't sound. And look, some people really know how to make peach cobbler. Some people don't, or key lime pie. There's an art to that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Some people screwed up. So we realized it ain't right, but we had enough of an idea to carry it over to Dre. And Dre's like, you know what? I know I have a great idea how we can make this record and how we can do it organically. So what he did was, look, here's how we're gonna do it. And me and Dre, we were used to making records, so we worked on many, many projects together. So the whole vibe was nobody brings a song in, nobody. This way it's equal. Everybody writes the stuff on the spot. We're going to put a click track up and Vernon plug in, and we just start playing. Play a riff, play around. Will might be there playing some drums. I'm there playing bass. So there was nothing preconceived. We run a track, we run a click track, different tempos, play 3 minutes each, stop, next thing. Don't even listen back. And at the end of the session, you listen back. And by the time you've done a few hours of that, you really don't even remember half the stuff you did. You kind of do, but you kind of don't because you're in the vibe. So it's a spirit that happens at that moment. So Dre was like, let's keep it in the mindset of the spirit. So nobody's coming in here trying to fight for this. I got this song and this and that. And the thing, it's not that people didn't bring something in, because I did as well, certain things. But nothing got carried over. So a song like Come On, for example, is something that was written on the spot. I basically ran a click track and I played the whole track down just from a spirit. It was just bass and drum and click track at first with a slicer with me syncing it up. Then we put then eventually we were able to add the other layers to the cake around it. But that was a song like Two Sides the exact same way. I run a click, putting the bass down, all the way down. Just while your spirit is playing, I know a bridge should come here. Don't know what I'm going to do, but my years of experience can help guide me through it. Same with freedom of expression. The click is being run. Vernon, get that guitar, get that git fiddle out. Vernon just starts playing these riffs. You know, he starts playing them, boom, boom. So we start to, you know, it's just free spirit, and it's like capturing it raw and real. And then Dre's clever enough to know how to, okay, we got that. All right, tomorrow, Corey, you're going to come in. We're going to work on lyrics. We'll get Will to put down some drums. You work on it so that it has there's a form that can be created out of a system that you or everybody may not be familiar with. It's easy to get together in a bunch of let's just jam and do these things, and we did that as well. But there were other ways to deal with being able to bring that spirit out, and Dre was brilliant.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant, absolutely effing brilliant at being able to keep the lanes open, deal with everybody's ego, hush that down, because you get cold feet after. Sometimes you're used to doing something, you're used to tying your shoe a certain way. Sure. Now you have somebody showing you a different way to tie that bow. Sure. You know, and you're like, I don't know, man. So, you know, and then you're coming off the heels of, well, I've been tying my bow like this for a while. Well, what about, it's like a person when you see kids when they do the shoelaces on their sneakers. I can't do them like they do it. These kids know how to do shoelaces. It just looks like, you know, I'm just, you know, but it's like, be open to find out more about what's inside of you and be able to listen and also be bold enough to say, okay, hey, I got, you know, find your lane, fight for it, but also listen. Dre was a genius at that. We wouldn't have this record if it wasn't for this record came in two parts. Started with Preaching Blues, the band doing it. Then there was a body of work that Dre did. And then the last song that we ended up doing that ended up being Inner City Blues. But the band Living Color ended up doing, and we did about three things ourselves. We did Preaching Blues ourselves, and then we did maybe like Patterns in Time, Last Teeth, and then we did a version of Inner City Blues. And then it was kind of like still a little bit to the original form. And I was like, man, this is cool. But Dre, if we give this to Dre, he'll flip it. And he did. He made us cut it all over again. And we kind of, you know. But that being said, it was a process. But we needed to have somebody engaged to give us a sensibility of how to do it. And we also, Living Color had a moment to be left as Living Color to do a few songs ourselves. That's how the record was done.
Now, I know you've worked with Andre, you know, back, like you said, back in the Stain album in '93. But Doug, how was it having a familiar producer that's worked already with you guys on this album like this? Though that's the key part there.
You know, well, the thing is, here's the deal. Like, Dre didn't really get the opportunity to really work with us on any solid tracks ever. He did one kind of like interlude, which was called WTFF. It was a snippet of a song that was on the Stain record. And then number two, he got to work with us on helping assist a little, some of the ideas for, what's that song, that we did, on the last, Living Color record previous to this. I'll tell you in 1 second as I'm shooting my way through it. I'm drawing a blank here, but I gotta think. I'll get back. But he helped us with some of Vernon's guitar stuff on one of the last records. What was our last? The Chair in the Doorway, right?
Right.
So, but he didn't really do like. There's not like a full production that he had a chance to work on us. It wasn't until we did this record that he was able to actually finally have the opportunity to do something from start to finish. And I mean, he worked with us a little bit on Behind the Sun. That's the song but it wasn't like, it still was produced. It wasn't really produced all the way by Dre. So there was a lot. So there was still, we Living Color, the band. We were still in this frequency of like, you know, you make a record, you bring this producer in, he does everything, kind of vibe. Kind of in my and things have kind of shifted. And then to be able to have somebody like Dre come in, it was like, you know, people were like, does he know how to make a rock record or whatever? Well, maybe that's the same reason exactly why Madonna chose Dre for Erotica record. And he did 4 songs on there, and it was Dre's song that he did that gave her her first explicit label on any record she did. That's still to this day one of the biggest records of all time is that Erotica record, just because it was such a game changer.
Sure.
So you got to take risks. You got to be able, you know, if you don't take a risk, sometimes you don't get a result.
Yeah.
You know, and that was kind of like if you and we were going into that comfort zone. We were trained to go into like, okay, well, maybe this isn't cool. This isn't rock. This isn't that. So we had to go through this period of like, okay, you know, this, that, and the other. What really at the end of the day was we didn't have it. We didn't have everything ready yet. So we started to try to go back to a familiar area, which is what we were familiar with, like for our fan base and everything. We thought, okay, you know, here's our fans. They're going to need this, and they hear this. If they hear something new, we need to give them something old. Dre's like, that's all cool. You got those fans. Let's get some new fans on board.
Yeah.
That's why when you hear Preaching Blues, I think maybe some folks dig or don't dig the blues, but I think our approach of doing Preaching Blues has its rock approach to it. You know what I mean? With a Living Color density to it. It's not like it's just, you know, we you know, the gods came out the heavens and you know, no, it's not like we did something that turned the world upside down.
Right.
But it was something that was live. That song we cut live. You know, that was a song that we didn't do, you know, any tomfoolery on it. What most of the stuff we did, it's all, you know, we made the record, but that song was cut live. You know, and so we tried to balance up the idea of how to keep our sensibility there, but also do new things, like a song like Always Wrong. It has that cinematic kind of vibe to it. You know what I mean? It has a certain frequency, but it's still Living Color. You know, it's another, you know, now the lens opens up a little bit more. And again, Andre Betts. Me and Dre worked close together on this record. I kind of was the bridge between my bandmates and Dre, and also given the role of post-production and being able to assemble the different remixers and making sure everything was, you know, I brought on board Chris Lord-Alge, Vernon brought on board Ed Stasium, Will brought on board Nico Bolas, Dre had Rich Keller. How do you make these 4 remixes with the songs that we had all sound like it's part of a package? That was an art all in itself. Going back and forth, making sure the drums were balanced, not too much reverb. Yeah, this, that. So it's an art so that when you hear it, it's like a movie soundtrack. Kind of like, you know, it has a flow to it. There's a narrative. That's the word I'm looking for. There was a sonic narrative that took place. And a lot of times people do, you know, rock records and the same person's mixing in, you know, the same sound. You know, it's not the same. Things change. It's production. Everybody has their production techniques. But when you have 4 different sensibilities, how do you keep them in their quadrant? Well, quite easy. Give a Rich Keller a song like Who Shot You, because he's used to mixing hip hop. Been working with DMX and a lot of he's done a lot of hip hop stuff. So Blackout, Who Shot You, you know, things like that. Give, you know, Chris Lord-Alge, Freedom of Expression. Come on, you know, Always Wrong. Me and Chris worked together at Sugar Hill. We were both, you know, I was there I gave Chris's nod for his first session as an engineer ever at Sugar Hill. We were both coming from we're both young, working with a bunch of elders. So Chris can do everything, as a very wide range vibe. at stations did the first two Living Color records. So like a song like Patterns in Time or Glass Teeth, he understands that Time's Up, vivid frequency that we were looking for. And then Nico Bolas, coming from working with Steve Jordan, a lot of not very organic, and a lot of some blues and bass stuff. So we were like, who's that? Designate the songs that can go to different mixes so that you can get a good sonic imprint on it. But then how do you make them all work when you weave them together? Mm-hmm. That was an art form. That was a true art form.
What do you hope the fans take away from this new album once they start to listen to it, or just Living Colors music in general, who have not got to hear you guys, and you're crazy if you haven't?
Well, I think the thing is hopefully you'll be able to do three things. Listen to this record, more than three things. Maybe that'll open up your sonic curiosity to go back and hear some of the other things. Some of the things you might have heard don't realize it's us. CM Punk used Cult of Personality.
Sure.
That's the song that keeps on giving.
Yep.
For his entrance song in the WWE. Guitar Hero had Cult of Personality on it. Try playing Vernon's guitar solo, as did Grand Theft Auto. So there's young kids that have been listening to the music, and they're like, oh, who's that? They may not realize it, but really it was CM Punk that gave us another breath of fresh air from when you hear that riff come in, they don't see the faces, but they hear that vibe. So maybe this record is going to be able to give you some curiosity to hear some of the other back catalog, but also the other side of Living Color is live. Live Living Color is different from the records, and so there's a special. The live Living Color experience is a very beautiful thing, and how we've reinvigorated every song that we do. All of our back catalog has has the theme there. Some things we play as is, like a Time's Up, or like Time's Up we flip, but like a Cult, certain things, and other things we've been able to over the years give them these it's like a tree with like that old oak tree. When you cut the oak tree down, you see all the rings. You can see the years, and you can count the storms and see all the layers and stuff. We're like that. You could see over the years how we've been able to create these solid oaks, that sonic oaks so when you come see the Living Color experience live, it's almost like it's two different experiences. The record is one thing, and the live experience is a whole other thing. And so, to get into the triangle. Check out the new record. Go back and hopefully check out some of the other stuff if you can. Check out a live gig. But then the most important to take that triangle into four corners and make it a circle. Check out all music that's out there. Support all the live bands. Support music and the arts and everything, because we're just a reflection of all of that.
Yeah. So
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the roads that everybody's paved, people that I'm hearing right now, people that I've been listening to before, and just being free. So all you youngsters and all you folks that are elders, embrace, support the arts. Listen to great programs and podcasts and different things, because it's important that the music and art stays free, and have fun with it. And that's my speech for the day.
I totally agree, man, because that's why I do this show. I do it for the locals that don't get a lot of support. I want to be their voice.
Well, I can't thank you enough, for what you're doing. And, you just keep doing what you're doing, brother, because it's a good thing, and we appreciate all that you're doing for us.
I do.
In every band.
I do. I love it. There's just it's like a morning cup of coffee to me.
Well, it's interesting, because how are we going to be able to, or anybody going to be able to do it without folks like you that have taken the time? And I'm not brown nosed. I'm just telling you the truth.
Yeah.
We create the food, but it's got to be somebody out there that kind of like can actually listen to it and digest it and break it down and be able to make sure that it gets on a menu of some form and serve it out to people for whatever. Hey, listen, I don't, hey, I'm okay if somebody does. I'm more than okay if people don't like something. If you sit there and listen to Living Color and go, you know what, well, that's okay, but I like Foo Fighters better. Well, then there's a result. You know what I mean? And I'm glad you're digging something.
Exactly.
So I'm not mad at you. And maybe somewhere at some point in life, you'll go and revisit something that you didn't necessarily like at first. You go, man, you know what? I'm really digging this right now. And I think if you're blessed to live to a certain point to be able to come to that revelation, then now you get a chance to enjoy more. Because when we're younger or whatever age, you can, look, man, some people to them, it's two kinds of music, country and Western.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Or some people like this, that, and it's okay. But maybe when you get older, if you're blessed too, you start to enjoy more music. So maybe that's it, But, thank you for having your program and being able to have a person like myself come on and chop it up with a new record like Shade, which we're very proud of, and I'm glad you're digging. Even if it's just preaching blues to come on, I'm glad you're digging it. Thank you.
No, man, thank you guys. I mean, honestly, because I'm just going to say this right now. I don't mean it's disrespectful. I mean this in a loving, kind way. For Living Color to be African Americans, they came in at a time in rock and roll and metal when it needed an ass kicking. So. It needed, I mean, honestly, Doug, it needed a breath of fresh air. I mean, I love metal. I love the thrash. I love it all, but it's like, I mean, it's like repetition. It's the same old shit. And then you guys come in, it's like, oh, this is interesting. I think you guys did a hell of a job. That's just me personally.
Well, thank you. The whole thing about when you make records, I make tons of records, a lot of different bands, and I'm not going to drop too many names. Anybody who wants to go online, they can. Nowadays, somebody can say I did blah 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 blah. Really? They could be Googling that stuff while you're there right now.
Yeah.
See, it's all real right now. It ain't. You can't hide from nobody. You know what I mean? You can't come up with some grand ass story, and as long as your batteries are working on your phone, and maybe sometimes everything isn't accurate that you see online, but it's pretty damn close sometimes. You can at least, move those thumbs around till you come up with some other observations of what you're trying to Google. But that being said, listen, if now it's about, there's a lot of things going on in this world. And it's about, sometimes music is one of the key things that helps people get through their day and helps give them a moment of relaxation or energy, or they go crazy or whatever. And you know what? That's the one thing. Whether you listen to spiritual music in church, or whether you're listening to thrash metal, or dubs, or whatever, you know what I mean? Indigenous music. It's one thing that we all kind of globally have been able to embrace: music.
Yep.
And it does have its categories, but you may not shake, you may not clap in time, you may not stomp your feet in time, you may not dance in time, but that head might start moving, and and it may not be in the same rhythm as somebody else's head going, but you know what? It helps the body, it helps the mind, the spirit, and the soul.
Yep.
And that's something that I'm thankful that that God gave us ears where they are. And I'm glad God didn't put those ears where our ass is at. I'll be looking at ass all the damn time. But, so that's all I got to say about that.
Now, you guys are an elder band. I'll just go ahead and say you guys are an elder band, but, we're living in the digital era now, Doug, of recording albums on social media. Do you guys like this? Because it looks like it would help an elder band out a lot more now, since we are in the digital era and social media now.
Well, that's a good question. There's more ways to get music out. Does it help you out? It helps give people access to your music for free. you know,
Yeah.
but, you know, and it doesn't necessarily help a band's bank account, you know, until they figure out a way how to code it so that, because, but does it help? It has pluses and minuses, to be honest. You know, yeah, you get, the stuff is out there, but it's so accessible. Something that somebody hears on Monday, they might have forgotten about it by Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's so accessible to a point. But the one thing that's very real is the art of, like, look, it's like, look, you look at, there's a time, the times have totally changed. You know, when record labels had a monopoly, and, radio stations had a monopoly on certain things, it was control, and now they've lost control, of certain things. And now with YouTube and other things, something that comes out on Monday can be Monday morning is there Monday night, and it's kind of like it's accessible. Now, the backside of that is how, as an artist, are you able to survive without being paid for your work, and that's the downside of technology, because now, it's become like, people are like, why do I got to pay for music? You know what I mean? It's like, why do I got to do this? It should be free. I've been getting it free all along. So that's why I like records coming back out, because albums are now, talk about that, are giving you have to be, you have to want that record, and at the same time, it's like, it's kind of like, you can copy it, you can hear it, but the album experience is more than the digital experience, in a sense, because you have it's like buying a book or something like that. So and all of this came out of it's like all of it's gone full. So all of this came from the digital media era of, like, oversaturation. And then, well, hang on, what about vinyl again? You know what I mean? So now, but, so, like, it's interesting, of, like, what you got. I got tons of stuff and tons more room on my phone. I got tons of stuff. And, but at the same time, I think this next generation is now want to experience what maybe my generation experienced, vinyl and other things, which is good, because I think what that does, it brings a bigger rate that comes to play, and maybe that can go back into some of the artists' hands again. It's not much. You're not looking at much anymore, but at least it's a start. So, I mean, the downside is there's upsides and downsides. The upside is, a lot of people can get to hear your stuff. They choose to. The downside is it's like micro cents on the penny of what you get paid now. Not that you got paid much more before. You know what I mean? But if you sold 1 million records, that was, you could live off of that stuff.
Yeah.
And now a lot of bands aren't selling 1 million records. Even a lot of the big artists aren't. So the things have totally changed, right? But how do you survive? If you don't find a way to be able to make sure that the ground is churned enough, and you're putting crops in a rotation enough to be able to use that soil and have it produce fruit and food and and earth and oxygen for us to breathe, then the music dies to a certain degree. That's what happens with the music business. Everybody's got a laptop. Everybody can make a record. Everybody can do stuff themselves. Everybody who wants to be a DJ or whatever, you can buy an app and you can sit down and flip some files around, and you actually believe you're writing some shit.
Yeah.
Maybe you are. You actually believe you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But who did the sounds and who put these things in? It's accessible, and that's why a lot of things sound the way it does. It's like it has a certain vibe to it. So does it help a living color? I think what helps what does living color got to do to really help itself? It's got to be out on the road and play. It's got to play live music. It's got to play out live. Look at all these bands that were out before that made a lot of that sold, many, many records, like a band like Steely Dan. Perfect example. They got cats are old, they're 10 years old enough. They gotta do, they sold tons of records. They gotta be out on the road too to play and do these things. Your main income is gonna be, a lot of it comes from the branding and the fact that you're able to play live, because the record industry isn't paying enough for you to survive off of anymore. And everybody maybe you start off a certain way, you sell a lot of records, but then once you ain't hip anymore, and you get shunned off, you know what I mean? You better have had a good enough system set up to survive off of, to counter the kind of lifestyle that you live. You know what I mean? That's why you see so many artists now, and then they end up, you know, pissed off and angry, and well, this person took my money and blah blah. It's technology took your money too. You know what I mean? It's an Akai sampler that took your money. It's a bloody daggone. It's technology that took it and made it, and then there's no way to actually regulate certain things. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
You're not gonna, you know, and that's kind of what happened. So like music became kind of unregulated. Now it's seeping into films. Films start to come out and they get leaked and everything. So, you know, but the point is, does it help? Yes. I mean, you can go online and you got a ton of things to sift through. And, you know, is this new indigo generation that has more strands of DNA in their head? They can multitask and do multiple things. Yeah. But it's a more entitled kind of like generation to a certain degree, you know? So it's like, you know, all of these things play factors into living color. You know, what helps us? Does technology help us? Absolutely. Does it take away from, you know, how do we find a way to keep our lights on and to be able to go in and make these records and make this music and go out on tour and do these things? It's the same. It's, you know, there's only the same venues are still here to play it. Everybody's trying to play the same venues. There's not, you know, you go do a gig now, and after the gig is a DJ, and the lines are 5 miles around the block. So it's kind of like you need all of these things because this is the reality of the world we're living in. I'm not pissed off that I go into sound systems myself, and I'm loving it. But in light of like living color or bands and how you deal with it, older bands like us, you know, that have been around for a while, it's still great bands. You know, you have to go out and hit the trail, man. And so, you know, because the rates that you get for royalty rates are absolutely hilarious. Sometimes I saw an email I saw a check come down one time, and I saw some rates, and I wrote a bunch of songs. But when you see the scale of what you're getting, it's like I had to take the check and frame it. You know what I mean? Because it's hilarious that, you know, like the amount of money that somebody wants to pay you. So you have to do a lot of things, or hope certain things you do. You got your stuff together, and it can get maybe in film and stuff like that. But it takes technology is helping some, but it's also not helping others. And until music can be at a place where there's, you know, that musicians can get paid and survive. So many great people did spend their lives make this music, and it just gets stolen from you. And it's been stolen forever and ever. Right when you thought you might be able to get it sorted out, here comes other, you know, platforms that are just like, we're taking everybody's stuff and we ain't paying nobody.
Yeah.
And so it's not, is it fair? Absolutely not. But hopefully over time, you know, things will start. Maybe, my good friend, things will get regulated. Because listen, this all started with boom boxes and cassette machines back in the day when this all started with like a boom box and a cassette machine, and FM radio would be on out there. I used to have my cassette recording a person like you playing a program or whatever. Oh yeah, you know, college FM radio was my go-to. And I was like, oh, so-and-so is getting ready. This DJ's on. That cassette was on and ready. And even had a timer on it. If I wasn't, that shit was in record.
Yeah.
So we all have done it because we want music. So, but I'm like, some folks are like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm buying that. I buy the stuff. Some cats will download and give it. You know, now, I got to be honest. I've gotten stuff that's been given to me, certain songs or whatever. But I want to support my bands and my friends.
Sure.
So if you really want to help somebody, listen, even if you really want to help an artist, then, you know, buy that music. But if you really, really want to change the laws, then you write Congress and you write the government, you know, because listen, the music will, you know, you're going to be getting some real corny ass shit if you don't help us with some of these creative musicians out there stay alive.
That is true.
It could be real corny, and maybe that's what people like. I don't know, but does it help? It's a blessing and it's a curse to some folks. Other folks that are younger, they're running with it because they're clever enough to know how to spin this, and they become their own entrepreneurs. You know what I'm saying? They
Yeah.
find a way how to, how to multitask and get together and network and that's the beauty of it. I could talk to somebody over in Europe, and maybe I have a record and I can find a person that wants that. Now I got to find a way to get it into their hands. You know what I'm saying? So you couldn't do that. That took that took a lot more moves. So yeah, there's a lot of pluses and minuses. You just can't stay pissed off at one thing. You got to think. You got to think your way out of it. And you can't stay around all the angry folks like, hey man, we're being all ripped off. Okay, everybody's being ripped off in one way or another. But let's figure it out to figure out how we can be able to get a better rate and to be able to also make sure that we support our friends. Because if you're supporting your friends, we're all one big band anyway. You know what I mean? But it sure is good to be able to listen, man. If there's $1 that's being spent on it, why shouldn't a great portion go to the artists or the musicians and all the people that made that music than it all going to the administrators?
Sure.
And that's just my take on it.
Sure. So what about support-wise? Is there a country or a region that stand out more to you or even surprises you that you guys get support from that area?
Well, it all changes. It shifts. It's like, a lot of times you see musicians like, well, Europe is great. We go over there and make a lot of records and do this and that. Well, that was great before 9/11, even before then. Now, it's like, with the, there's a lot of support that was coming from over there. But again, technology took care of that too, because now you can get updated real quick where maybe cats didn't dig this music, but now they actually can get their hands on it. So we, people in Europe used to, we had a lot of different countries like, Holland and, we go to England and go to the German-speaking countries, Austria, Germany, Switzerland, and then we go to South America as well, Australia. So there's certain pockets where people, kind of want to see you because you're not local. You want to go there. But once there was a time when I guess there'd be much better, depending on who you are, that you can get good rates to go to places. But now, it's just difficult because, everybody's trying to save a buck to a certain degree. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, now it's either the time it takes you to get on the plane and go here and do this and deal with the taxes and go through the process of going out the country to do something. Man, it's almost better to do it. You can stay local and do it. You can go into a local club around the corner and probably come home with more money than you can going out over to Europe for the thrill of doing it. So right now we have a good fan base and that there are fans that like us all over the world. But it's difficult. It's becoming more and more difficult to go over there to different places without good assistance. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's even more difficult just to tour America. Fellas, listen out there. It's hard for musicians to be out here doing what we do. It's not like, it's not like what you see on TV. It takes a lot of work, a lot of planning, and any mistakes that goes down, the band pays for it. So are people digging our stuff? Yes. Will we love to get there? Absolutely. Sometimes you go to these places, you end up paying to get there, and and it doesn't balance out. You know what I mean? And that's just the world we're living in right now with all the different obstacles that you have that get in your way. You know what I mean? The politics of what's going on. People. Not everybody's digging America right now. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's the economy is some countries are better than others. And we want to go there. We'd love to be there, but fuel prices go up. It's more expensive to get on the planes. They don't want you to bring your guitars on the plane and stuff. It basically equates to being expensive. So, that equates to you being able to be around some good people or a crew of folks that can help you navigate through those murky waters and be able to, get you into these destinations. It's difficult for everything. A lot of bands. It's tough. It's tough. It's not like the times have changed, and there's a lot of things are being bundled, my friends. It's like you have a lot of festivals and that are doing a lot of stuff, and they're like shopping malls. So it's easy to be a part of a festival and get invited to do some things. But when you're going out there as a band doing hand-to-hand combat, then you better have all cylinders working right, or there's no room for error, because error is going to come natural per gratis. So it's different. It's not easy for for a lot of bands. Like I said, unless you're a kid, you want to get in that van and ride around, eat Snickers, and you're doing all right. But then, but even the gas prices have gone. It's not like it was before, where you're sitting around, you go out to do a gig. Now bands got to play they got to pay just to get on the stage now.
Yeah,
you got to buy on. So anyway,
true.
I just try to tell the truth, and kind of like come out, just tell the truth, as opposed to come up with some shiny, bright, way of, yeah, man, everything is cool, man. There's BS. No, this is you're in real time, and depending on where you are, styles you're dealing with, and how your popularity is, then you're going to get. Then it's gonna be challenging for you to be able to get a buck out here. And then other things, if you got a hit, then man, dude, you get that hit and you got things happening. Make sure you have good business managers, good accountants, and good attorneys that can put some of that money aside. And when you're 137 years old, you can at least look back and say, I was smart enough to do this. You know what I mean? Because ain't nothing is, it's rare that things, continue on and on and on and on forever. And, but then, good music doesn't it? Good things do happen. And, it's a very real business. This is a business. And to be in business, you have to understand the business. And every day is a learning experience to get updated on what's going on with the business, because the face has changed. So you could do a tour 5 years ago, and then you're like, I'm going to go now. I haven't toured in 5 years. You're going to go out and try and tour right now. You're still without an update. You go, okay, that should be a mini series right there. You should have somebody filming that. That you could probably sell that
there
more
you
than
go.
You can sell your music. So
yeah.
That's just real talk, people. That's just real talk.
So the $1 million question, Doug, what made you want to become a musician? What was that spark for you that said, yeah, that's exactly what I want to do right there?
Well, oh God, I grew up at a really good time. There's a lot of music around, but I'll tell you, check this out. When I was my mom's from the Bahamas,
right,
and I grew up in Bloomfield, Connecticut. And when I was about 10, I would start, taking vacations to spend the summer with my family in the Bahamas, Nassau. And at this time, like 1969, 68 is when 68, 69 is when I first went there. And for the summer, I have a lot of family there and stuff. So this one year, 69, the Jackson 5 came out. Prior to that, I've been banging around. I kind of always, had a mandolin and banged around on that, and a couple of the guitars, and started taking a few, just being like a parrot, listening and watching elders and trying to pick up little bits and pieces. And then I went to the Bahamas. And I have uncles that are quite young. I have an uncle that's even younger than me.
Oh, wow.
By a year. So I was in this kind of like in my father's side of the family, they were all older. He was the youngest of his family. And my mother's side she was the oldest, and she had very younger siblings. So my uncles, it was great to be around like young uncles that were like in college, and I'm like about to enter high school. They're in college and about to graduate, something like that. So I'm hanging out with my uncles. It's kind of cool. And Nassau was a place that had, at that time, didn't have a TV station. It was an English colony, just about to get its independence from England. Local newspaper, a couple of local radio stations. If you were lucky, you had a huge antenna on your roof. You could maybe pick up on a good day Miami television, my Miami TV station. So it was kind of, to a certain degree, it was an island, isolated. So a lot of music there. There's a lot of clubs, a lot of, entertainers. You go to a hotel, there's activities going on. Everybody kind of knows everybody. People are doing their own parties, house parties and stuff like that. So I'm hanging out with my uncles. And at this time, Jackson 5 came out. And I had a premature mustache, big afro. And I looked like I didn't, my clothes didn't come from Nassau. I came there with some American bell bottoms and looking like, I was a kid of my era. and a lot of clothes that I had wasn't available there. And so I came there and I bought the Jackson 5 album with me. And that was big thing at that time. Jackson 5 it came out. And they had made a splash. Michael Jackson and Jermaine Jackson and Tito and Jackie and Marlon. They were all over the airways in America. So my uncles, I had a big afro mustache, and my uncles came up with the bright idea of telling people I was Jermaine Jackson in the Jackson 5. And they bought it. So and the people believed it. So they would take me, they tried it out at first, and because nobody really knew, and I kind of had a big ass afro, and it was kind of like, all black people look the same kind of. I was like, oh, this black man, So I had a big giant afro, kind of didn't really look like Jermaine Jackson in my opinion at all, but I had a huge afro. Maybe I did, but on, if somebody's got a few drinks down their neck and you're going to a doorman at a hotel that there's a band playing, they bring me there. And my uncles was just telling me, listen, don't say anything. Let us do all the talking. And they go tell people, yeah, we're here. This is Jermaine Jackson with the Jackson 5. They'd be, you really, man, for real? Man, they would usher me into the club, and you could see where bands would be playing at the clubs, right? And you could see where the guests, patrons would have been sitting down. They already had their drinks. They'd be sitting at the front of the right and watching the band. They would make those people move from their table and put me right in the center of them. And then my uncles would be like, Guinness Stout, Heineken. They would start ordering all this beer and drinks. And they would go there to bring me there to use me as a way to crash clubs and to drink alcohol. I'm dead serious. So I'm sitting around looking around. I'm like, this don't make any sense. And then also, but it worked. So, and one of my aunt on Bay Street, she had in Nassau. It was a store called Central Furniture and Music. So it was two stores. On one side is a furniture store. On the other side is a music store. And during summers, it gets so hot, they have a siesta during the afternoon. It's like they shut the store down. And my grandmother worked in the Straw Market, so not too, this was my mom's best friend. So I would go there, and, she had the shop, the music store, and I was like fascinated. So she was like, you know what? I would go to the Straw Market with my grandmother, and then I would come and I would spend my lunchtime in the music store by myself. My auntie would let me stay in the music store for about 2 hours, all by myself. Now, you're talking about a kid in Toyland, and it was like, and I'm like 12, so I'd sit there, and she would, and I was responsible, so they had Fender bass, Fender guitar, keyboard, drum kit, whatever. I wouldn't play any of the horns, but I'd bang around on the bass, bang around on the guitar. So, and my uncle had a guitar as well. I'd sit on the porch. I was learning how to play a little bit, but I was driven in the Bahamas because I was around music all the time as I was back home. Right. So then I started playing a little bit, picking up songs. I had a good ear. Then I came home from that summer vacation, and I'm about to be a freshman in high school. And at that point, I said, you know what? Either I'm going to impersonate a fraud the rest of my life, or I want to take music. I want to be a musician. It was when I saw because I was able to go into nightclubs at a very early age. My mom knew what was going on. She would have strung my uncles up. But I was witnessing live music. Some of these are great players in the Bahamas. They could play their asses off. That's all they did was play. And they're playing all the songs, all the popular songs. There was no jukeboxes with them. They played all the time. So I was around music all the time. And then when I went home, my older brother and sister, they had friends that were older than them, and they would take me with them, to go see different bands. My mother would make me go with my sister, so my sister would be trying to make out with boys and stuff. And she had to bring me back home, so she knew if I went with her, she had to be responsible to bring me back home. She couldn't fool around too much. So I got to see Miles Davis and Sly and the Family Stone and James Brown hanging out with my sister, so I was always hanging out with elders. So I was like, this is enough for me to I want to be a musician. So I got home from summer vacation, freshman in high school, and then and my next door neighbor played drums, and the person behind me, by the time I was gone for that summer, 2 months, a lot of stuff took place. So one guy picked up playing guitar, other dude that got a drum kit, and I had it was like I said, the Vietnam era was going. And I used to bang around with my next door neighbors, had a few guitars and stuff, and they would, their brothers. One of my next door neighbors' brother was in Nam, and he would send home a guitar or whatever for his brother, but he didn't do anything with it. And we were best friends. He would give it to me, so I'd bang around, on it. So I had like a Shih Tzu guitar I was playing on. But when I got back from that summer vacation and captured, like, I'm about to be in high school, it's a big thing. And then there was the talent show that was going on for like homecoming. You have the football season starts off, school starts, homecoming, all that stuff. So they have a big, big thing in high school. And this is when this is pre-middle school and all that stuff. So it's still 9th to 12th grade. So, 1970, when you were in school then, anybody that was a senior in high school might as well have been 50 years old. They were fully, their beards and shit. I'm around elders. They might as well have been, 5,000 years old than me. So, I'm like that little, so I'm like, okay, the guys like, I bang around and they're like, yo, let's form a band, let's play. And our goal is we're going to play at the high school homecoming. And I'm like, and so I was like, man, okay. So all this happened over like that summer. Summer 1970 really kicked in when I started high school. And I came back with I was 2 years in the Bahamas of being Jermaine Jackson, because I went there in 69 and went to 1970.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And I was like, you know what? Yeah, I can't make this up. To tell you the truth. And then was at that point. That point, I said, you know what? I want to be a musician. So I started studying. I started working. And what was going on? There were so many guitar players around. A lot of them didn't get along with each other. I was being taught by guitar players, jazz guitar players, funk, rock. So there was a big reggae, the second largest West Indian population in America was in Hartford.
Yeah.
One at that time. So I was driven, to be a musician by all the music that I was around. And I just kind of got into it. Then I fell ill. I got ulcers when I was young. I had an illness. And it kept me in the house at one point, and then I was shedding, just playing, man. It's just like my older brother and sister bring me records, and I couldn't. I was sick for a couple of months, so I had to stay in. I'm just going to shed. So it was all of that. All of these, it's like anything else. What is that change in life? What are the things that get you to go? That turns that light switch on? What is it? The sequence of events. Sometimes it's, family things happen. There's a shift. And, when you're like going into 9th grade, your hormones are kicking in. It's a deep thing. Plus, I played sports and this and that. So, you're trying to find your lane. And I was around, I'm being a kid, but I'm also like, I'm hanging with elders and I want to start playing some music. And that's what happened. I just kind of it just switched. I just said, either I'm going to impersonate a fraud for the rest of my life, I'm going to take this music business seriously. I want to make a career out of it. I want to be a player. And I was playing guitar and bass at the same time. I started kind of playing both, and I gravitated more towards bass because there's so many bloody guitar players that didn't get along with each other. And I was learning. All my lessons were coming from guitar players, and so I just found a lane. And I enjoyed the sound of the bass, and then there was so much funk that was coming out, and James Jamerson, and listening to Miles Davis and George Clinton, Sly, John Entwistle. I liked the sound of the bass. I'm like, man, this is right up my alley, and I just fell in love with it.
I'm sure you guys get this a lot, and I'm sure you guys do, but Doug, what's it mean to you when you guys receive an email from a fan, or prior or after a show, they tell you that Living Colors music has pulled them through a bad experience, or it's just gave them inspiration to overcome something, or it just lets them get away and relax with the everyday bullshit that we go through? What's that mean to you guys?
And well, we're doing our gig, you know what I mean? And we're it makes me feel like, that I've made a difference to that person. Because a lot of times you get blinded by it. And let me tell you something, there's a lot of musical police officers out here too, people that don't like what we're doing. Some cats might be like, I don't like you soloing, at the gig, just do this, or I don't like to hear this, or I don't like. So you get it from all sides. I'm keeping it real. You know what I mean? There's a lot, but those that do and then you start to get folks that are like, that keep it real. You know what I mean? They're like, no, man, this is a free band. Let people express themselves. You know what I mean? You have different people that fall in love with different things. And for some people, some people they're happy they would be happy if we just kept doing a reincarnation of Cult of Personality over and over and over and over again until the end of time. They'd be happy. You know what I mean? They want, and they're more than happy. And then there's other folks that are like, no, man, these guys are all individuals. They do their thing. They're a unique band, and they've helped. And I understand the DNA and the songwriting and the differences. Because we're not your average. I wouldn't say that, but we're not like a rock band that just plays all rock music, or we're just a funk band, or what. We mix it up. We always have. And with that comes, let's just say, people comment and people have, views and opinions and stuff. And Living Color is always individually and collectively have taken the views and opinions from people. And, and it's okay, because at the end of the day, it's like, look, you got to be in the ballpark to get a hit. You can't be in the stands talking about swing. If that was the case, everybody would be hitting home runs, to a certain degree. So it takes balls and guts, and it takes to put yourself out there for people to be able to either say, I'm digging what you did, or that shit sucks. You know what I mean? You have to be able to accept both sides, because with light comes darkness. And if you don't, but we do appreciate when a person does say that this record did help them through some hard times. We get that all the time. And we get criticism too. We get folks that are like, "Yo, they want to write the set list and tell you what to do and why are you doing this all," and it's okay, because they can do that online,
right,
and do this and that. But they may not play a note, or where's your band? And that I don't even really care. It's like, you have an opinion, you can voice it. That's what the internet is all about, and stuff like that. Yeah. So with good comes people saying, "No, I don't. I think so and so's a better player. That person sucks. No, bring me the original bass player back. Vernon could have been doing this." It's you get some very deep opinions of some that can kind of like, oh man, that may not have been very nice, but you know what? Hey, that's that person's opinion. What am I going to do? I'm not going to sit back and hunt the person down. I'm just I'm gonna accept how they feel and keep it moving. You know what I mean? So we appreciate the good, and I also appreciate how to digest things that may not be so good, because we have taken some hits too. You know what I mean? There's been people that have been like, who these black boys doing this? So, black band or real? I didn't know. The people didn't know the Living Color was a black band at first. Was of African American color, until they saw it. So there's a lot of there's sonics create one thing in a category. But the people that really enjoy the music and that are real are the ones that say, you know what, this music helped change my life. Yep. And they could be from a red state, they could be friggin', blah 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 blah, and we get it, and it's okay. It's somebody that may be on the other side of the coin. It's okay. I'm more than cool with that. I'd rather somebody be hot or cold than lukewarm. But we appreciate when somebody's. I appreciate when somebody has something to say, and I also appreciate when people have something to say with respect. Right. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And not disrespect. You know what I mean? Because there's ways to view things, and also how we as the band digest that without it being inflated to the head, or because you can get drunk on your own shit. Sometimes people are like, feeding your ego all the time. Yeah, we're the best band. But I don't believe in none of that. I believe that I'm not the architect, I'm the recipient, but I love the fact that anybody that's engaged and is out there is going to take the time, express themselves. I'm going to listen to what they're saying, especially if they're doing it with respect. Yeah. They do, and that goes for not me. It goes for all bands. And I'll defend another band that are friends or foe. Just do things with respect, because this isn't an easy business that we're into. And to be an artist, you have to be free. Or if I listen to what everybody told me, or what the opinion was, like I said, I wouldn't be talking to you right now. I wouldn't be
Well,
the
sure.
person that I am. I wouldn't have been able to go down the different streets that were in some places unpaved. They didn't exist. You know what I mean? And create an Indian path for other folks to go down, as did my ancestors, and hopefully future generations will do.
Well, sure.
And that's the hit to me. How to get in there and get back out.
Yep.
And you know, and if anything, I got to get a tetanus shot, fair enough. But I went in. I didn't just sit on the side scared. I went in to the jungle and came back out, made it out. That's how I feel. So I appreciate all these fans and friends that you know, kind of like say, hey, we got these through some hard times, and also, you know how to deal with the musical police officers that are just there to take the piss of not just you but other bands. So that's when I'm like, all right, well, let's, you know, and I got a lot of respect for Vernon, because Vernon will chop that shit up with folks online. He has his blogs and stuff, and he doesn't mind going belly up with them, and I respect Vernon for that a lot. You know, so hey man, I'm thankful that we have folks that got us through, because the same thing with I'm just like them. I needed to hear a funkadelic record after Jimi Hendrix passed. I needed to still hear, you know, old Motown records with great songs to this day. You know, I love hearing some of the stuff that's coming off the airwaves from over in the UK and other places, and indigenous music from Australia or from Africa or from Native American music. I like hearing music, and I'm not gonna sit down and hear something that somebody did from Mali and go, well, I don't like what that fucking second, you know, conga player was doing or bongo player was doing. No, I'm liking the music. But some people want to analyze it to the umpteenth degree. That's you got all, you know, that's what you want to do. Fair enough. But I like people that have respect for the, you know, for music, and also appreciate it, but not be hurtful with their comments.
Folks, I've got to say I have nothing but the utmost respect for Living Colour, for what they have done and achieved throughout their music career. I'm a very huge fan of Living Colour. Cult of Personality is my all-time favorite, of course. I mean, that's their thing. But Glamour Boys was good. This new one that they have out, Preaching Blues, is badass. And come on, but like I said, those two are my little cheats for you guys and gals. So, Doug, how can folks stay in touch with you guys, buy this new album? Tour dates, how can you do that, my man?
Well, what you do is, you know, first of all, that's where you use that technology. Hit that finger, go to livingcolor.com, go online, you'll put our name up and see what pops up, and then you'll be able to see some tour dates. Right now, we're wrapping up the East Coast run. You know, we're gonna, you know, we have a few more dates lined up that's gonna be coming up. You know, like tomorrow we're gonna be playing in Raleigh, North Carolina on the 31st, and then on November 1st, and you know, Raleigh at the Lincoln Theater the Wednesday, the November 1st at the Orange Peel in Nashville, North Carolina, and then November 2nd on Thursday, Center Stage in Atlanta, and you know, we'll be at the Epcot Center and Disney World playing on this Saturday and Sunday. We'll be there, and then we start to swing back around and hit Club LA in Destin, Florida on November 7th, Tuesday, November 7th. And November 8th, we'll be in Iron City in Birmingham, Alabama on that Wednesday. And then City Winery, November 9th in Nashville, the Thursday. And then that Friday, we wrap up in Savannah, Georgia, stay at the Stage on the Bay, November 10th. And then I'm heading home, and then I fly back over to England to work with my good friend Skip McDonald, who got me in this business, and we'll do some dates at the Jazz Cafe in London. And then next year we're going to be lining up some stuff. You know, check out stay tuned. We're going to be doing some stuff abroad. We got a show. We're actually going to be playing in Costa Rica. So anybody who wants to come and take a night's vacation, come and join us in Costa Rica. And next year, sometime in March, just check your. You know, there'll be another tour that we plan on lining up for next year, doing festivals and more stuff. So this is the first wave And thanks to good, we've been having a great time on this run. We just came from England prior to this, doing a bunch of dates. Things are going well. Everybody's in good spirits, and I look forward to meeting some new fans, in the very near future, and meeting you as well, my friend. In the meantime, I'm giving you a wireless hug over the airwaves, my brother.
Before I let you go, my good friend, would you care to do a promo for the show?
Yes. Hello, good people. This is Doug Wimbish live and in living color from Living Color, and you're listening to BODS Mayhem Hour live and in stereo. Check it out.
Everybody stick around. We got some great, great music coming up, and you only hear these interviews right here on BODS Mayhem Hour and Uber City Radio. Thank you so much, Doug.
You're welcome, my friend. Do your thing, and looking forward to meeting you in the very near future.